Hello everyone, Hydra here. Today we're doing another league discussion. I just did another one a couple days ago, so go check out that video if you're interested in kind of how I feel about Olympus Smite League, or maybe it's a different league. Maybe I posted one before this. But I played in several leagues that vary in seriousness, from SOC to Smite Collegiate, all the way down to some random plat league where I went 30-0 on Baki Kujira Jungle. I've been around the block, and I wanted to answer some of the questions that I get really frequently. What did you think about 5 Club Smite League? What are some good and bad things about that league? And should you play in that league? Well, first, let's start off with the basics. So, what is FCSL? FCSL, or 5 Club Smite League, as I called it before, is an amateur draft Smite 1 league that recently finished its first Conquest season. The league runs its regular season for about 2 to 3 months, and it has historically been a joust league, but the administration of the league has been attempting to create a conquest league to fill the void left behind by some of the other leagues like OSL and AGL coming to an end in Smite 1. It's themed after like a WWE wrestling kind of aesthetic, so using this unique aesthetic to its advantage, they have accordingly themed each division as heavyweight, welterweight, and featherweight respectively. So I started playing in FCSL this past season, the first Conquest season of the league. I was the captain for the Heart Showers organization. I was the heavyweight division captain this season. My team finished regular season as the 3rd or 4th seeded team. I honestly can't remember which one we were, probably 4th seeded. And we ended up losing in finals to the Gun Show Shoguns. I like to call them the Blicky Shoguns. Congrats, by the way, Furballer and company. Well-earned ship, you guys. Definitely played super sick. It was a blast playing against you guys. In this video, I want to talk about some of the positives that the league had. Yes, there were a few positives. I will also be talking about the negative parts of the league. I'll cover my experience and what I think the league could improve as well. As I said in my OSL video, draft leagues have the added benefit of being able to meet new players. I got the team with players that I've played against for seasons now at this point, for the very first time this season. Draft leagues are a really good way for established players to try playing with different teammates around your skill level without the growing pains of changing a pre-made roster in a bring your own team style of a league. I went in more depth about the benefits of a draft league in my previous video talking about OSL, so if you guys are interested in a longer video comparing the benefits of a draft style versus a bring your own team style kind of league, then let me know in the comments below. I think that's all I have really for the positives, I'm not gonna lie. So let's get on to the part of the video that you guys have been waiting for. So there's a lot to talk about in terms of what went wrong with this league. Even after the weather that ravaged Florida and extended the season by like a month is factored in, there's a lot. First things first, there was a severe lack of staff. There were no division commissioners to manage each division's general chats and issues. There was nobody for players of a certain rank to look towards for answers. This created a lot of work on an extremely small staff that was there. The vetting process was also horrendous. Several players kept being shuffled around divisions due to the way that they performed in scouting games. And I'm not talking about someone who's, getting bodied and they get moved down to, maybe hopefully fix their playing experience. That did happen though. The worst part was when someone would frag out in a scouting game and they'd get moved up to a higher division randomly, on a random day. This affected the captain choices that orgs could make. An example was that Heart Showers, the org that I captained for, wanted to pick a captain for their middle division. The person that was going to be the captain ended up getting moved up to the higher division and then moved back down into the middle division at the very last moment. This left Heart Showers scrambling to find a good captain replacement. It also meant that a really good player just ended up being in the draft pool that probably wouldn't have been, and they ended up going to a different team. This could have been easily remedied by cutting off the vetting process well before the draft. The default time was also just not decided until after signups were concluded. Several players were playing in other leagues at the time and they had to end up pulling their signups so that it wouldn't have a scheduling conflict with their other leagues that they took more seriously. I personally feel like the lack of staff and lack of preparation points towards one big issue, that the league was rushed or maybe pressed for time to get running. I think it needed some more time to cook before coming out of the oven. Another issue that the league had was trades and the issues surrounding those trades. Unlike OSL, the administrators of FCSL had the power to veto a trade if they felt the trade was unfair, which, again, this might be the case in OSL as well, but they were heavily involved in vetoing and approving trades in FCSL to the point where it felt like even if both team captains agreed on a trade and you thought it was going to happen, you'd wake up in like an hour and the trade got denied. This led to an issue that made several players and organization owners angry. So picture this. You have a really good player on your roster. Some people would argue that they are the best player in the draft. However, due to some personality conflicts on the roster that you've drafted, your star player is asking you to be traded. He isn't having fun on the current roster, and he wants to play somewhere else. You agree, and you make a trade offer to another team, and the other team also agrees. And then the league admins then veto the trade because they don't think the trade is of equal value. Yeah, you heard that right. The league administrators were denying trades unless they thought both players being traded are equal. Because the league administrators are also humans that can form opinions, they would assign value to certain players in their own heads. They might think a player is the equivalent to LeBron James, and you make an offer to trade for the league's equivalent to Steph Curry. Well, good luck because they don't think those players are equal. Enjoy LeBron sitting on your bench, no Bronny. I'm also pretty sure the owner had the server muted. There are several cases of people constantly pinging the owner to help with issues and they never got answered. Whenever I had to interact with Dean, he always matched the respect that I showed him. I know for a fact, however, that others didn't have nearly as positive interactions. That brings me to my next point. Heavyweight finals was between the two banned organizations, in air quotes, as in both the owners got banned at some point. I can only speak for the hard shower side of things, but that whole situation was super unprofessionally handled. The result of the franchise owner, who was also the featherweight captain at the time, getting banned was that the featherweight team disintegrated, I think, close to like 3 times, and that almost resulted in that team leaving the league entirely. The decision to ban people was solely handled by one person at that time. The conflict that caused it was a denied trade that was also denied by one person. The league, on its last legs, looked for a messiah, a Michelin star chef, if you would, to save itself from the cooked position that it got itself in. So, big shoutouts to McThickLickQuick for picking up the scraps of the league. Without them, the league probably would have fallen apart in week 4 or 5. On top of the bans the players got by talking smack about the owner in other leagues, players getting accused of hacking, getting banned, and then getting unbanned just to quit the league later, and even 2.1.3, the real ones know what that means. So, would I recommend FCSL to anyone? No. At least not in its current state. Leadership is lacking in motivation and experience. Until ownership either gets things under control or ownership changes entirely, I wouldn't recommend playing in this league. The only reason that I would recommend playing in this league, the way it is now, would be if you had buddies that wanted to play in a draft league and you all, just end up on the same team. However, it's a draft league and that's really unlikely to happen. It suffers from all the issues that other draft leagues do. If I had to offer any advice, I would say to bulk up this league staff so the burden of running a league isn't on just 1 to 3 people. Ask for help in revisiting the vetting process the league ended up doing. In my division, it wasn't too much of an issue, but I know lower division suffered a lot because of the vetting process. Any issues with chat moderation that most people had would also be fixed with a bigger league staff that's dedicated to ensuring the success of the league and the enjoyment of the players that choose to spend their time there as well. At the end of the day, it just kind of seems like the league wasn't ready to begin, that it needed more time to fix itself. And because they rushed into things, it made the experience not nearly as enjoyable as it definitely, I believe, it could have been. If you want to check out some of the casted games the league does, check out the Twitch channel. I'll put it in the description below. However, this last season they struggled to get any form of production running after the initial draft show. That doesn't mean that they won't be doing casted games in future seasons, however, so maybe just give them a follow and check them out later. If you want to join the Discord, I'll also have a link for that in the description as well. Whether or not you listen to my very biased opinion, you should go check this out for yourself. With all of that out of the way, guys, I will catch you all later.